we hang our hats on being, family oriented, but then when you really look at it, like it's a lot of toxic relationships.
It is.
And I'm like, what do we do about this? What's going on, guys? Welcome to another edition of Dads on Purpose, the podcast. I'm your host, Josh Ashford, man, and I'm so excited to have our guest today, Miss Kristina Campos. Did I say it right, Kristina?
You did.
Okay, I'm just making sure. How are you doing?
I'm doing real good today.
Oh my! So I know this is late, and so this is late for both of us. So y'all out there in podcast land, you guys enjoy this show. Man, I'm so excited to have Kristina on here. Kristina, how do you introduce yourself?
Kristina Campos. I'm the founder of The Impactful Parent.
What's The Impactful Parent?
Okay. The Impactful Parent is an organization, like a company that I built. And basically, I help parents turn their chaos into connection with their adolescents.
I love that, the chaos part, because so before we came on, I stopped myself from going too far when we were talking, because I was like, I don't want to say this now. I want to say this once we get on the show. But like, I feel like chaos, that's what I'm at right now. Like, you know what I mean? You know
yes.
what I mean?
Most households have chaos. Mine has chaos. We all have chaos.
But I mean, look, and I'm just getting started. Like I'm at the 2 and the 3.5 year range, and I'm just like, Lord Jesus,
it's
Lord,
coming.
right? But listen. So talk to me about this chaos, because like, what does that look like? Like, what do you walk parents through?
Yeah.
Or is that a loaded question?
No, I think that, parenting is so hard. And the reason why it's so difficult is because like there's no manual and we're not trained in this in any way, shape, or form. It's a whole bunch of winging it. Really is totally what parents do.
Hold on. You posted something and it said, don't wing it.
Well, you shouldn't wing it. And that's why I'm here. But that is what parenting usually is, because basically, instinctually, we just parent how our parents parented us. And that's kind of like our baseline. And great if your parents were awesome, not so great if they weren't. So, and not to mention, like things always change and things are evolving. Like we're the first parents to have to deal with social media and navigate our kids through that realm, things like that. So it's always evolving. And your kids are always evolving. So what makes it so, again, difficult is that you think that you got it going. You know what you're doing. And then all of a sudden, your kid will turn into an adolescent and the game completely changes. And now you have to switch things up again. And it's a lot of playing catch up and trying to figure out what to do next. And it keeps evolving. And then the next kid comes along and you try those same techniques that worked for the first kid. And then you find out they didn't work for the second kid.
No. How did you get, I don't mean to cut you off, but I want to know how you got into this field, because I remember we've talked before and we talked about like one of your biggest things is like people don't know that they can even find you as a resource, right? Because like this is so new. Like having a resource to teach you how to parent. Not only that, but people feel some type of way about somebody else telling them how to parent. But at the same time, like there's a beauty in it, because you posted something and I saw it earlier and I laughed because it was, what did it say? It was the gum meme. Like,
oh yes,
like back in the day before the internet, you would just walk around, like you would swallow gum and, somebody told you that, you'd have a worm in your stomach for 7 years and you believed them because there was no internet.
Yep.
And like, but like now, like the beauty is like, you can look it up and like, no, there's no worms made of gum in your stomach. I don't know. Maybe it's true. I don't know. I didn't look it up.
But that's it. So our parents were able to parent us through so many different techniques that don't work today. For example, like in Hispanic culture, because I'm Hispanic, there's a lot of fear instilled things in order to get your kids to comply. So we have like these fairy tales. One of the most popular is called La Llorona. It's the lady that's crying. And basically the fairy tale of it is, the moral of it is that don't go by the rivers at night. Don't go late. Don't go without your parents, because otherwise this lady is going to come out of the water and steal you.
Oh.
And so, yeah, it's scary. It's a scary fairy tale. But
So
they
like
were
this, do you tell somebody this, like, is this a bedtime story or?
Some parents actually do tell it as a bedtime story, but no, it's not supposed to be. But there was a lot of that. We'll tell you something so that you'll believe it, so that you'll comply, or, not run into the street. In this case, not go outside and go by the river at nighttime. And now we can't get away with those kind of fear-based parenting things that our parents used to do to us, because they can Google it. And then your kid's going to come back and be like, that's not true. And then you have to argue with the Google machine. And it's just not going to work. It's not as effective. So again, we're a new generation of parents that are just a little bit more lost than maybe in the past.
I like that. A little bit more lost. What do you mean?
I think that, we don't have that crutch to lean on like our parents had. Like, hey, those generational ways of growing kids, things have shifted. Not only can we not tell our kids these lies to comply, but now we got social media. Our bullies back when we were kids, they were at school, and to avoid them, you just ran fast, or you,
you fight and then you're done. Like now, no.
Or you confront them and you're done. Today, bullies are in your home because they're in your bedroom, because they're on your phone, and they're in your pocket. And so that's a different ballgame altogether.
Yeah.
So again, the parenting shifts, and it's not anyone's fault today that we don't exactly know what we're doing. So that's where parent coaches like me come into play, so that we can give you a little bit of help, a little bit of guidance, a little bit of child psychology, maybe. And then it's trial and error, because there's no one right way. So I'm not going to tell you do this and I know it's going to work. I'm going to say, try this, see how it works for you. And then we'll tweak it, because it's trial and error with every single kid.
I like that. What's your favorite subject to talk about? Like with parents?
I like talking about what I believe is the 3 fundamental pillars of parenting.
Now we're gonna go into this, because you can't just that was a layup, and you just you kind of tossed it up there. Now I need you to dunk this boy.
I know. It's one of the first things that I created as a parenting coach, when I was trying to figure out, how do I lay a foundation of parenting for my clients? And I came down to 3 things that every child needs, every child, no matter what the age. The first one is security. And security comes in 2 forms. The first one is that mama bear, I'm going to protect you from the lion outside the cave, real primitive, right? Yeah. Security that as a child, if I close my eyes and go to bed at night, I know that the bear's not going to come and eat me, because you're going to protect me physically.
Okay.
But then there's also a second type of security, and that's security in love. And that comes from, will you love me through thick and thin? Will you love me if I disagree with you? Will you love me if I am not a perfect straight A student?
That's good.
And so they need that security. The second pillar is acceptance.
Okay.
And it's different than security. Your child wants to know that you'll accept them no matter what they choose to be in life, as they try on all these different hats during adolescence to see which one fits them best.
Yeah.
Are you going to accept me? And the best way that I can explain this.
Yeah, I was about to say, how is the acceptance different than the security and the love part? Because I'm like,
yeah,
I feel like they're there.
They're very similar, but let's take an LGBTQ child.
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of parents will love that kid and say that they love that kid no matter what, but will they accept them for being lesbian, gay, for choosing that particular kind of lifestyle? Or not choosing, it's actually not a choice, it's who they are. But so, excuse me, that was a miss on words. But will your parents still accept you for who you are in that capacity? And it goes along. I think LGBTQ kids just make that a little bit more clear, but it could be, hey, when we have kids, the minute we find out we're pregnant, we get all these expectations in our heads. Oh my gosh, you see wedding dresses in your mind. You see college, university
I see dollar bills.
graduations.
That's all I see cost. No, I'm just kidding.
But you're right. You see those things. You have these expectations. And what if your child doesn't want to go to college?
Mm-hmm.
And they chose to do a different path that maybe you don't understand. So it doesn't have to be LGBTQ. It could be just something that you are expecting your child to be this way, and then that didn't happen.
Yeah.
So do you accept them? They really need acceptance.
Okay. Yeah. No, that makes sense. Like, yeah, I'm good. Let's go. What's the third one though?
And the third one is power.
Okay.
And power, it's that
I was like, do they need power, or we need power, or they need power to be individuals, or like what's up?
No, yeah, they need power. They need to know that their existence matters, that they have some say in their own life, that they're not powerless, that they have some kind of sense of purpose.
Yeah.
And this is where a lot of kids struggle, to be honest with you, because if a parent does not allow their child to have enough power over their own life, that means I'm going to call all the shots. You don't have any choices. I'm making things for you. You're going to college, that kind of thing, right? Yeah. Then a child will feel really helpless. And helpless turns to hopelessness. And hopelessness turns into depression. And unfortunately, depression will turn into self-harm. So that one's a very slippery slope, and it really does happen that quickly.
So we kind of just touched on this like 2 episodes ago with who did we just? Oh, Kurt Jordan. He's got an organization out in Seattle called Kong Academy. Super great guy. But what he was talking about, and we posted a clip about it, and he was just like, everything you prepare your kids for, you protect them from. And he was like, everything if you don't protect them, you prepare them for it. And if you don't prepare them, you protect them for it. I don't remember. I messed it up. Y'all go check the last episode. It's out there. But I feel like that's kind of that power situation, is that like you based upon where your kid is, right? Like where on the scale they are, that's how much power you give them over their allotted, days. So like my 18-month-old, like I can't let her choose whether she wants to wear a diaper or not. But my 3.5-year-old, like, I can let her choose her undies, right? You know what I mean? So is that kind of what it is, or?
It is. And that's how you give the power, by giving your child choice.
Okay.
And I'm not saying that you let them run free. You set boundaries, because boundaries create security. And again, that's pillar number 1. So you have to have boundaries. But let's take your toddler, for example, your 3-year-old. Your 3-year-old decides, I want to tie my shoes. I'm going to tie my shoes. Don't you help me tie my shoes. I'm doing it. But you got to get out the door because you have an appointment. And they always pick the worst time to want to tie their shoes. So
I let her tie them in the car.
Yeah. She's trying to tie her shoes. Okay. In this incident, you would say, hey, look, you got 5 more minutes to practice to try to tie your shoes, but we got to get out of here in 5 minutes. So you warn them. Okay. Yeah. 5 minutes comes around. They don't have their shoes tied. Okay, that's not going to happen. But what you do, you have a couple choices. You could take their power away, grab the child, say, nope, time's up. Too bad. Sorry. Take them in the car, picks them up, put them in the car. They're screaming and yelling the whole way, and they're angry because you just took away their choices. Or you could say, okay, time's up. Now you cannot tie your shoes anymore. Here's my boundary. It's time to leave. It's a boundary. But how do you want to get to the car? Would you like to jump to the car? Would you like to skip to the car? Would you like to listen? What do you want to listen to in the car? Is there something in the car that you like to hear to make you feel better because I didn't have a chance to finish your shoes? Maybe your favorite music.
Yeah.
You're shifting their choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What it sounds like that I'm hearing, though, not just in the power or the security or all of them, is this whole idea. This is how I approach parenthood, is that we're not here to dictate our kids, right? Like our whole job is to guide them. And a guide doesn't tell you where to go. They show you, but at the end of the day, like you still have your own choices, right? And I'm gonna put up some safety rails. So like you can't stumble off the mountain. And like, hey, if you want to go, you know what I mean? Is that kind of what it is?
It's very similar. Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
It's like I call it coaching. We coach our
Oh,
kids
I like
through
it.
life because a coach will give you advice. A coach will say, this is the best way to do it. But ultimately, it is the player who gets to choose how to play.
Hmm.
And so I
Good.
like using coaching as the analogy of what parents really are. And as they grow, the more coaching you do versus teaching, like
Mhm.
really showing the kids. Just like your quote from the last episode.
Yeah, I don't
That
remember.
was
I
a
don't fully
beautiful
remember
quote.
it. But like Kurt's gonna be like listening to this and be like, oh, I messed it all up. But hey, so I want you to I want you to generalize. And I hate generalizations, but like that's what we're gonna do right now. Um so why with all those things as far as like approaching, parenting as a guide, why is it that in the Latinx and African American communities that like that is not really a thing? Or is it a thing and society just portrays it not to be?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I know.
I
I asked it.
I think that we've the past generations
Mhm.
of people of color,
Yeah.
there's been a lot of dictatorship.
Yeah.
And I feel like that went well for a while. It's again kind of like with the Google, where you can't lie to the kids anymore because they just Google it and then they call you out on it.
Yeah.
You know, I think it worked for a while, but I think there was a lot of dictatorship,
Mm.
and it was my way, and it was because I said so.
Ooh, that because I said so.
Yeah, and it was okay. It made really strong people, but I also will say that
Sorry.
it,
Can you hear the screaming?
no.
My wife's putting my 3-year-old to bed, and I'm literally in the back of the house. There's doors closed, and apparently she doesn't want to go to bed.
There you
So
go.
yeah, and all I hear is ah! And I'm like, anyways, keep going. Sorry, keep
No,
going.
it's okay. No, with the dictatorship, I would argue that even though it worked
Mhm.
for a generation of people to grow up and say, okay, I'm like a little bit tougher because I had to comply and whatever. I would also say that the relationships that we have with our parents weren't that great when we were kids. They may be okay now as adults when
Mhm.
we're more at equal level because they can't dictate us around anymore as much. But I don't think that we have the connection
That's
with our
yeah, I was about
parents.
to say that's the part that I wonder about, the connection part, because like that seems to be the missing piece, right? Like we're so, especially in people of color, our communities, whatever you are, Latinx, African American, Asian, whatever. I'm gonna throw Asians and people of color as well, but like
They are, yeah.
we have this sense of community where majority of Caucasians, that's not usually what you see, right? Um, I mean, unless you're from where I'm like, we're in the country. Yes, we're in Dallas, Texas. So, country families, they all get together. But anyways, I'm not editing that out. So y'all can just be mad at me. Um, but I feel like we have this sense of community, this quote unquote sense of respect, right? But a lot of it's fear based, and so I wonder, like, how do we change that, right? Is it through your programs, or is it? I don't know. That it's a loaded question. It's a large question. Like it's super large, right? But like what are some like practical steps that we can do as parents besides your three pillars? Like I guess we have to identify, I guess we have to take those and we have to like what's the word? Internalize those and make them our own values, right? In order for us to move. Is that what we have to do? Or
Yeah, it's what every kid needs. If one of those things is missing, then you're going to have a child that doesn't have a connection with you for whatever reason.
hmm, hmm, yeah. Sorry. No, I'm just like I'm really marinating on that because that it frustrates me. because we hang our hats on being, family oriented, but then when you really look at it, like it's a lot of toxic relationships.
It is.
And I'm like, what do we do about this? So going forward, okay, so we have the 3 pillars. What else are some things that people can use in order to have these better relationships? And like, would you say turn the chaos into
Connection?
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think that you want to treat your relationship with your child like you do all the other relationships. Like you want to create a connection. And it's through the connection that your children will comply because they want to they want to be nice to you. They don't have a reason to be defiant
Do they
because
really? Like legitimately? Do they really want to be nice?
I think that they do. I mean, they still want to be their independence and stuff, but if you allow them to be independent and you allow them to fall, but you're there to lift them up, to help them along the way, not to necessarily to tell them what to do, but to guide them, then you have a relationship that's going to last through adulthood. And somebody who, when you're old and you need it to come back around, somebody who's going to help you.
Oh my goodness. Praise God. That's why I'm so thankful I had girls. Cause like guys, we're trash. Like when it comes to taking care of our parents, and I'm just like, daddy's baby girls. Like, I'm not in a hurry to get old, but I'm praying that I'm doing this thing right so that I raise some girls that will take care of me. Is that wrong?
No, it's that's how you gotta do it.
Okay. I was just making sure. Like I was like, am I sounding like a bad guy out here?
No, you're not. But you do want to create a connection with your daughters so that they'll want to do that for you. Otherwise, you're gonna get old and they're gonna be like, he never did that for me. Why would I go around and do that for him? So you get that kind of mentality, and we don't want that. We want a relationship with our kids that are going to last a lifetime and come home and visit you and come to Thanksgiving sometimes, maybe not every Thanksgiving because they might be busy, but somebody who come back. And to answer your question, other ways you can do that is you need to talk to your child. You need to spend quality time with them, and you need to speak to them through their love language. So, the 5 love languages by
but I'm like
Chapman.
No. Yeah, there. So what's it? Physical touch, gift giving, acts of service, words of affirmation. What's the last one?
Quality time.
The one that we were talking about, right? And so when kids are kids, like, do they actually like have an identifiable love language, or is it kind of just lumped all together? Because they're changing, like they're changing every day, right? We're adults, we're more stuck in our ways. Like we're like, I like acts of service, right? But like, do kids? I wonder the science or the numbers behind that. Like, do they change often? Are they a hodgepodge of all of them?
I don't know for sure, but I would think that Chapman would tell you that yes, kids have love languages. And just from my own experience of working with kids for over 20 years, I would say, as they grow, it might evolve and it might change and shift depending on, their circumstances, their home life, what means most to them. Gotcha. And it's us as parents to identify what those are so we could speak to them in that love language. But no matter what love language they are, if you're not spending quality time with that child, even if their love language isn't quality time as the most important thing, then how do you create a connection with somebody you're not talking to and spending time with? You can't. I mean, that's part of connecting and why actually a lot of our kids feel so disconnected nowadays because their mode of communication has been completely altered through social media. I mean, they have the ability to meet more people and talk to more people and see people instantly all over the world, but it's very shallow. They're not really spending quality time with their friends the same way maybe we used to when we used to actually go outside and play and, solve problems together and fall and have to like carry them back home. And all of the kind of the struggle is what connects because you're spending time. Yeah. And that's what parents need to do is we need to spend time with our kids.
That's good. But so besides us spending time with them, like how do we cultivate that in them to like want to make an authentic connection? Like because I have teenage nieces and I saw them last night and like all the younger kids they were outside playing. The teenagers, they're in the living room watching like YouTube vlogs and like on their phone TikToking and like sitting in the dark and not talking. I was like, this is all you guys are gonna do? And they were just like, yeah. But I'm just like, my kids are out there, like, we don't give them a choice. Like, they don't have phones and things like that. So it's like, oh no, you're gonna figure it out outside. So I'm like, how do we cultivate that desire for them to want to make meaningful connections?
Yeah. Well, there's two ways. The first one is start early
Okay.
because if you're not doing it when they're young, it's so hard to backtrack and get them to do it when they're older.
Mm,
So if you make it those routines when they're little, then it becomes less of a question when the routines continue through adolescence because it's just
good.
something that has been expected of them their whole life, like brushing your teeth. It's something we do. We've learned how to do this. We shower, we brush our teeth, and then you move that to, hey, we eat dinner with the family. Our phones are off. We don't have phones at the dinner table. That comes from like ground one, square one. The minute you get a phone, there's rules around it, right? Instead of just handing it to them and saying there's no rules, there's got to be those parameters, those boundaries so that they know that these other really important things that matter to you and that are important don't get interrupted by a device.
That's good.
Or even like, hey, every Sunday at 5:00, we play a game together. We're a board game, whatever family, and you pick that, whatever that quality time looks like,
Yeah.
because the quality time does not have to be every day. That's exhausting. That does not have to happen. You just have to have it. And if it's a routine of your life, it could be for literally 15 minutes every day right before bedtime. That's quality time. That's good. That'll fill the tank. It could be once a week, family hour for an hour. That's okay. It doesn't have to be an hour every day. Like when people think quality time, it's just like they get like, it's going to be so hard. No, break it down. It doesn't have to be that tough. This is about interacting with your child. It could be, I had actually right before this interview, I had my daughter just read to me. And she's just reading to me for 15, 20 minutes. And that was our quality time. And that fills her tank and we're good. And it becomes something that you have to make a routine. It has to be a part of your daily life. But the second way you do it is you have to meet your kids where they're at. And this is where a lot of parents falter. They think, I'm going to have quality time. We're going to go to the zoo on the weekend and I got tickets. We're going to go see a movie. I got it all set up.
Yeah.
And then you force your kids to go and then they come home and you're wondering why the whole time they're not all that engaged with you.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is, did you ask them that they wanted to go to the zoo? Okay. Because you wanted to go to the zoo as a parent, you made the activity. You didn't even give them a choice in the matter. Okay. That goes back to that power. You didn't give them a choice. And so a lot of parents, they hate it when their kids are into video games, right? Oh my goodness. Hate that. But okay, you want quality time? Play a video game with your kid. If they're into video games, meet them where they're at. Suck it up. Play the stupid video game. And if they don't like if you don't like the video game, sit next to them while they play and watch what they're doing. Ask questions about it. Oh, what's that guy doing? Learn how the game is played. Take an interest in whatever they're into because that's meeting them where they're at.
Yeah.
And suck it up as a parent that it's boring and you don't give a crap because you need to have that connection with your kid. And it will go so much farther than the pre-planned zoo trip that you never gave them.
Nobody wants to go on, right? Can I say this though? As a gamer, don't ask your kids questions while they're playing because we're dialed in. I'm just kidding. But,
yes.
But no, so that I just had a flashback when you talked about that, the meeting them where they are, going to the zoo and things like that, because we went on a family trip to Broken Bow, Oklahoma. It's like we're in
Arrow.
Dallas. Huh?
Broken Arrow, Oklahoma.
No, Broken Bow.
Broken Bow. Okay, I've
Yeah,
never heard of
Broken Bow. There's a lake, there's cabins. It's like woodsy. You're hanging out. I don't know. Broken Arrow. Broken Arrow. There's a good
That's
high
by
school
Tulsa.
football team, huh?
Yeah, that's by Tulsa.
Yeah. No, not that. But Broken Bow. So, anyways, cabins, lakes, fun, lots and lots of fun, right? So one of my nieces, I have 15, but one of them, my mom invited to go with us. Like, I think there was probably like 30 of us. This particular niece, she doesn't hang out with us a lot. My mom didn't, sorry, I didn't say she invited her. My mom told her she was coming. And then my mom picked her up and brought her 3 hours to go camping with the family where she doesn't hang out with us. And then my mom got mad when she was there and she wasn't really talking to people and really connected to anybody. She ended up calling her mom to like come and get her. She didn't, but my mom was really upset and like she was kind of offended. Like, why don't you want to hang out with your family and da. And like the whole thing, like, you didn't ask me if I wanted to come? Like, you didn't even give me a choice. Like, you just said, "Oh, you're going," and I'm like, it's just a flashback, punched me in the face. And I think so many parents are doing that. They're just, because we're so disconnected and we don't have these relationships, that we're trying to overdo it. When, like you said, like, hey, if you just sit next to them and you watch them play their game, or if they're making TikToks, like, watch them make TikToks and ask them what they're doing. They're probably not going to let you know, but I'm just...
Hold the camera for them. They need somebody to push the little play button. I mean, whatever you need to do.
Hold the camera. That's good. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't think about it. So listen, I don't want to give away all your tips. Where can people find more of your tips? Because I know you have an app, right? And it's free.
I do.
And it's for parents. And It's got a lot of stuff, right?
Yes. So my app is called Impactful Parent. Okay. And it's available on Android and Apple. It's absolutely free to download. And in there, you're going to find like 30-day challenges to make you a better parent. Those are all things like connection activities that I'm having you do to make that connection. There's parent education videos to help you on just about everything parenting, and it's growing every week because I add more stuff all the time. And it just helps you navigate through those tricky spots. It's kind of like, I like to describe it as like square one, when you're like, I don't understand what's going on with this kid. What's going on there? And then you can find a video that might help you, whether it's, does this kid have ADHD? I don't know. Or, why is my child procrastinating? How do I get him to stop? Or
good.
How do I get my child to stop being so lazy? Or how do I talk to my kid about sex and drugs and really, there's a whole gamut.
That's a lot. So, okay, so you have the app. Is there any other resources that you have that people out there might need, use?
Sure. I mean, you can go to my website, which is theimpactfulparent.com, and it's theimpactfulparent.com. But it's in there, you'll see, like, I do online courses and family coaching and things like that. But
I love it. I love it. So you guys heard that, theimpactfulparent.com. Y'all go there, show her some love. If you can't remember that, go to dadsonpurpose.com/resources. Go down to parenting. She's going to be in there. It's going to be fun. You guys are going to learn some things, and you're going to be a better parent, and your kids are going to be better kids, and you're going to be a better family, and we're going to make better communities, and we're going to make better generations and all that. You see what I just did? Like, very impactful.
It is.
I'm a wordsmith. I'm just kidding. But hey, thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. We love you. We appreciate you. Like the podcast, subscribe to the podcast, share the podcast. And until next week, God bless. We love you. Take care. We out of here.